it kind of came organically. We wanted to start a podcast. I've been to several different like networking events and stuff, and people are super interested in what I'm doing. They're always asking me questions, and some of the stuff that we've been talking about it just come up like, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I was like, yeah, but I want to do it right, and I want to do something strong. But at the end of the day, I'm also kind of a guy through my businesses and stuff that I just like to try stuff and move forward and see how it goes. So that's kind of what we did. We were just like, I hired my guy Ryan, who produces all the stuff for me, and he was like, "So you're interested in the podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, man, it's something I've been wanting to do." And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I have no idea. Let's just get it set up. Let's start down the path, and I think organically we'll figure out the path we go on." And I wanted to do, I guess I'm an entrepreneur at heart, in the sense of like, I just like ideas. I just bounce stuff around. So it just kind of started moving, and the idea just kind of popped in my head. Hey, I don't know who to interview.
That is Mr. Michael Bauman, who ain't scared to tough things out. Thank goodness for the magic of editing, because we had like some serious technical difficulties, but he stuck it out. And you're going to find that this episode's pretty darn good. It's another one of them super wisdom-packed conversations where Michael shares like a ton of his personal insight and experience that I think is going to be extremely useful for entrepreneurs, people out there that are thinking about starting a business or who have already started a business. He's got the goods. Some of those goods are his story around gaining momentum in starting a business, which of course really resonated with me because call it confirmation bias, but I like what he's selling. And then the stinky side, right? We talk a little bit about what it feels like to let go of team members, and like a super recent experience that he had just gone through at the time of this recording. And we also talk about his point of view around education and what role that played in his life. And he's got a pretty darn amazing life. And, I mentioned that we share some thinking. He also has a podcast. Like, we connected over the TikTok, and I'm headed up to South Carolina, and I will have the privilege of being interviewed on his podcast, Lion's Legacy. And I hope he takes it easy on me. I hope he doesn't pay me back for all of the darn glitches and pauses and stops and all the stuff we had to go through. Before I let you go and listen to the rest of the conversation, I gotta show some appreciation for our patrons. Thank you so much for your continued support. One of the things somebody pointed out was like, Jess, like, you keep talking about this patron thing, but like, what do I get? Well, so here's a little sneak peek as to what that is. If you sign up as a patron, one of the levels will give you access to like show notes, which is really just my chicken scratch, some of the behind the scenes stuff that's really not out there, that nobody else gets to see. Also, any of our patrons get immediate access to the backstage passes that are clipped out of these conversations and live on the YouTube. So head on over, learningsandmissteps.com. Become a member, click, click, click. And as always, we love you for taking the time out to listen to this and contributing to enhancing the image of careers in the trades. And we also have like a super cool, exciting announcement. Keep an eye out for some details on a Lean in Love book signing that is going to be taking place in New Orleans. Jennifer Lacey and I are going to be up in New Orleans, October sometime. And we're going to have a live and in-person book signing. We're probably going to live stream it. So as soon as we get all those things worked out, we'll be posting them out there on all the socials. I love y'all. And here we go. What's going on, L&M family? Here we are with Mr. Michael Bauman. Did I get that correct?
That's probably a correct pronunciation, but we just go with Bauman. It's just, I guess, the
Bauman. Got it. Tenfold. Michael Bauman in the house. Mike, so we connected through TikTok. Is that correct?
Yeah, man.
I got some friends that are like, TikTok, what are you talking about TikTok? I'm like, bro, TikTok's not just for games. Like, it's a serious deal right now. I know I had been following you guys, and what struck me, like what stood out to me, was your producing content of you interviewing people from your team that work for you.
Yeah.
So where did that idea come from?
So it kind of came organically. We wanted to start a podcast. I've been to several different like networking events and stuff, and people are super interested in what I'm doing. They're always asking me questions. And some of the stuff that we've been talking about it just come up like, have you ever thought about doing a podcast? And I was like, yeah, but I want to do it right and I want to do something strong. But at the end of the day, I'm also kind of a guy through my businesses and stuff that I just like to try stuff and move forward and see how it goes. So that's kind of what we did. We were just like, I hired my guy Ryan, who produces all the stuff for me, and he was like, "So you're interested in the podcast?" I was like, "Yeah, man, it's something I've been wanting to do." And he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "I have no idea. Let's just get it set up. Let's start down the path, and I think organically we'll figure out the path we go on." And I wanted to do, I guess I'm an entrepreneur at heart in the sense of like, I just like ideas. I just bounce stuff around. So it just kind of started moving and the idea just kind of popped in my head. Hey, I don't know who to interview. I don't really have a large network of podcasters. So let's just start moving. And it kind of naturally became, well, the people that I have around me are my employees. So, and then I was just thinking about that, and it kind of came to me that like, well, I've never heard a podcast of an employer talking to his employees about real stuff. I think that people get scared sometimes. We're like, what if they call me an asshole? What if they, say something messed up? And I'm like, I embrace the uncomfortable stuff. Like, I like it. I think it is entertaining in a lot of ways. And to be honest, nothing really super uncomfortable has come up. It's like, it's just real life happening. I kind of embraced that, and I was like, well, cool. I'll just always do one with an employee, and I like it. I think it's good. I don't know that I'm covering the content that I really want to get to, which is more mindset based, more entrepreneurial minded stuff. So, I've also started thinking now that, I do have some other friends that are business owners or employers that, hey, let's have you on my podcast with one of your employees so that I can kind of bounce stuff between you two, and maybe I can get some real good, interesting stuff out of that. But, in the meantime, we're just kind of rolling with it. I think it's starting to kind of bring its own thing to life, and we've done a couple different things now. I think last week I did that exit interview with one of our people, stuff like that, that I think it's real, man. It's just, it's who I am. It's who I think all of us as entrepreneurs and business owners, like, it's stuff you deal with every day. So why not try to see what insight you can get, because hey, at the end of the day, like I'm young. I'm been doing this for a while now, but I don't know it all. So, shoot, there could be somebody that comes on and is like, dude, I saw how you did that. If you started maneuvering in this direction, you could probably see a lot of positive out of that. So, I'm open to learning from other people and seeing where it goes.
You mentioned mindset and like an entrepreneurial spirit. Where did that come from for you?
Definitely my dad. My dad's been was a business owner my whole life. And I don't know. I mean, I truly believe it's like kind of a God-given talent or gift. Ideas just come really natural to me. And I also have a strong work ethic. So it works well. So it's something that I've kind of figured out when I was about 15, 16 years old. So I dropped out of high school in 10th grade and started working for my dad. And very quickly, my dad and I would just sit down and discuss ideas and think about new stuff. And we were a really good team for bouncing his wisdom with my youth and like excitement, so we were just a really good team together when it came to coming up with ideas. So like I said, I dropped out, started working for him when I was like almost 16 years old. So I was like right at the end of my 15 year. I was just coming up on my 16th birthday and started working for him. Right. That was 2006. So 2006, I basically got a year and a half before the recession, and my dad lost everything in the recession. So pretty naturally, my dad was just like, well, let's figure out the next thing. Let's go. So We
That's
had
it.
sat down at that point and wrote a business plan when that was kind of the thing you had to do was write business plans. I don't really agree with that anymore, but we wrote a 300-page business plan on a solar company, and we tracked down
Okay.
investors, got investors and partners involved, and started a solar company from the ground up. And I was, like I said, I was 18 at this point, and in the room with real business people that had been successful, and they were always looking at me like, what's this kid doing in the room? But as soon as they would ask me questions, like, I knew that business plan inside and out, so like it was hard for me to gain the credibility because of my youth, but the ideas just flew, like just were in my mind, and I could figure them out pretty well and articulate them. I think that's the biggest part of what I do is actually casting that vision so that other people can understand what I'm trying to accomplish, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's like one of those power skills that, man, if you can figure out how to teach that, you got a whole new market, right? Because it's tough. You get an idea and trying to help people understand like the end game going from zero. That's a real challenge. So I want to hear about, you said you don't really believe in the business plan methodology. What's going on there? That I think I know, but I want to make sure.
Yeah. So for me, it's kind of what I just said about the podcast. It's more important to start doing something than trying to. I think people get stuck in the planning side and they never get momentum to go, and you have to create momentum. You can't sit back and just be like, I'm going to plan this thing out and plan and plan and plan and plan. What's the point of the plan if you never get to going? Right. So I think that people get, and then typically what I see is that in the planning phase, you don't know all the steps to that whole plan. So you get stuck. Oh, I can't do that because I don't know how to get to this spot. Well, dude, you haven't even got going yet. So how do you know you don't know that spot yet. You don't know what's going to be the crutch. You got to move. And, as you learn, as you move through those baby steps, you start getting a stride. And then something you thought was going to be a problem, you already corrected it and didn't even know. Or worst case, you hit that block wall and you're able to pivot and figure things out because you're already moving, you're already doing stuff. So, that momentum allows you to either run through that wall. I use that phrase a lot. Me and my management team, like, we'll run through any wall. We just want to make sure it's not a load bearing wall. Right. So
that could be bad.
So, I believe in moving.
I'm sure you've seen tons of people get stuck within the planning, right? Trying to have a contingency backup plan for every single damn scenario, and they still haven't left the office.
Can't do it.
Yeah. So what kind of tactics would you recommend to somebody that's like stuck right now? They haven't even got off first base.
I mean, it's back to the same thing. Just do something, whether you think it's right or wrong. I don't think that matters too much. Part of it is the fear, right? Don't allow yourself to be afraid of something you don't know is going to happen, right? We're not in control of a lot of stuff. What you are in control of is what you do day to day. So if you're working towards what you're wanting to be, you're naturally going to figure some stuff out. Sure, you're going to fall. Sure, you're going to fall short. I mean, even as far as me in this past month, man, this past month has probably been one of the hardest months of business I've ever had.
Really?
And I got a rock star team around me. It just, there's things that happen that you just don't know. Like, you just don't know. Right. And you don't know what you don't know. So, it's just continuing to learn and try to forecast, where you think. I'm not a big plan B guy. I'm a high competitive nature. Like, I don't like losing. I'm not a poor sport. I'm not going to be a bad loser, but I don't like to lose. Right. So I think that it's just one of those things that you just got to push and keep pushing, and don't have a plan B because it gives yourself an exit to be like, oh, my plan didn't really work out, so I'm going to go to plan B because that got hard. It's going to be hard.
It's going to be hard.
Just move forward, man. Don't give up because it's hard, you know. And I think that, you know, I tell people all the time, it's pretty much a glass ceiling, man. Like, you just got to break through it. And it's going to get, as you get close to that ceiling, you're going to second guess just about everything you've been doing. And then you break through it and you're like, holy crap, I went through that to get to this next level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah, totally. I mean, it's a thing, right? It's like, yes, it's going to be hard, but to date, I've been able to overcome every challenge I've been faced with. So if that's true, this next challenge, I'm going to be able to get through it. Just got to, you know, put your head down and make the damn thing happen. So you mentioned multiple businesses. So 10th grade, you're 15 years old, very close to being 16, got out of high school, worked with dad, started a solar business. Obviously, you've got your podcast. I'm in my head, that counts as a business or can count as a business.
Sure.
You've got your landscaping business. What other irons in the fire you got?
There's a bunch, man.
Yeah.
So the landscape business is my main focus, my main source for everything. I'm involved trying to close on a farm property that we're buying that has a wedding venue on it and a mushroom farm. So we took the mushroom. We've already taken the mushroom. We took the mushroom farm over in January. So that's been a very interesting and fun little deal. And then, I got irons in the fire with a lot of different investment opportunity and business. I'm looking at a campground right now, building a campground. Pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
We're in the very beginning stages of that, but pretty excited about that. There's probably others, but those are kind of the main ones I'm really focused on at the moment.
Okay. So serial entrepreneur.
I don't really love that phrase, but
really,
it's a very buzzword thing right now.
Sure.
You know.
Okay. So what would be like the most badass phrase to call what it is you're doing?
I don't really know, man. I just an opportunistic guy. You know, just I allow opportunity. Like, I don't get shut down by opportunities. As far as, like, you know, I do believe that people are always like, well, you got to focus on your thing, right? And that is true if you're trying to keep 100% of everything, right? I'm not 100% guy. I would rather have 10% of $1 billion thing or things than 100% of $1 million thing, right? Like, because at the end of the day, you as one person, and I've lived this, I actually grew my landscape business to 2 million pretty much by myself. And that was my max capacity. And there was some jobs that I was doing that was like super half-ass. Especially the things that I didn't like to do, which were some of the most important things. But, you know, I think there's kind of been a true statement, especially the service industry, that right around 1 million, maybe 1.5 million is about all you can get to as a owner operator type deal. That you're the one involved with, you know, the sales side, the production side, the admin side. If you're taking on those 3 jobs, that's you're capped out at 1.5 million, and you're probably going to work yourself to death.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes, sir.
So, you know, I've believed for a long time in scale, right? So, you know, with the landscape industry specifically, you know, it's a pretty low margin business, almost similar to the restaurant industry. You know, it's a lot. Most companies are at a single digit profit margin on a landscape business. There's outliers, you know, and we're above that, but it's kind of the niche stuff that I do that got me there.
Yeah.
And I just believe that having the team around you to especially make up your weaknesses is how you succeed. So, you know, I'm not heavily involved in the mushroom business. I more am doing the visionary, creative idea stuff that I'm really good at. And I have people that, you know, have my back on the operations side and the sales side. My landscape company, you know, I'm really the CEO. Like, you know, I just am making sure that we're on the path that I'm creating and that I've put the right people in place to make that happen. So, I mean, I just believe that You can't do everything. You're not going to be great at any one thing, right? So you just got to do the stuff that you like and enjoy, and find the people that can help you go to the next level.
So way back before you decided to get out of school, what kind of career did you think you were going to be doing?
I think that's what's so hard about being young and in school. You're asked that all the time. And I don't think, I'm sure there's some people that have a passion at a very young age that they like, that's what I'm going to be. I enjoyed a lot of things. I was always in like the motorsport stuff. So, I raced dirt bikes when I was a kid. My stature for that, I'm a pretty big guy. So like I was never going to be like, I could never be a race car driver because of my height, Yeah. So, the things that I really wanted, the things that I have a true passion about is like cars and motorsports and stuff like that. So, I always wanted to be a race car driver, kind of some of those like more abstract, very rare things that can happen.
Sure.
But pretty young, I definitely had a desire with my, like my dad would take me out in the car and we'd be riding around and, hey, son, I did that. I did this. I did that. Like, check that out. That's what, so like, I think that kind of got planted in me a lot younger than I understood. So as soon as I left school and started working, it was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do.
10-4. Yeah. And
so I was terrible in school.
So with that, like clearly, what's okay. So being terrible in school, was it?
I mean, what made me terrible in school is I think it's not built for people like me, right? It's built for the masses. It's built to, create, yes, not there's no autonomy, right? It's you do this. You're going to learn this way, whether it's good for you or not. I was a very hands-on learner. Like I learn extremely quick in a hands-on environment. So sitting there listening to a teacher tell me how to do a math problem and write it on the board and memorize that, like it didn't work for me at all. So I was super bored. Basically, how school is built, not really built for people like me who learn with their hands, who really excel with hands-on learning and having the ability to do things different ways. So like I'm a very creative problem solver in the fact of like I can think outside of the box to solve a problem. So school is very in the box, do it my way. This is how you solve the problem. This is how you need to memorize it, and regurgitate information. And I'm not that's not how my brain works. That's not who I am. So I just quickly, like, I was bored with it because I'm like, this is dumb. I just it doesn't, to me, especially after ninth grade, like the stuff we were learning it was bullshit. Like, what do I need to know trigonometry for? Like, and even the simple math stuff, the teacher was like, you're never going to have a calculator everywhere you go. It's like, hey, buddy, like I said, I think school in general is a big deal up into a certain point. Like, does it really matter to understand a lot of stuff that just, it doesn't, who cares? Like, it doesn't relate to the real world, again, teach me life skills of how to build credit and how to start a business. And, what are the fundamentals of, finances? Like, give me something that's legitimate, because we're just setting these kids up to get into the real world and basically get shit on. So not a huge school fan.
So the other question, and I imagine you probably got some good fun ones. What's a significant learning you had as a result of a painful misstep?
Oh, geez. Trying to think of where to go with this. Had a very real one this week. Some people that I brought in to run part of my company. So I think I've told you our company is very fast growth. We made the Inc. 5000 list of fastest growing companies in America last year. So there's a lot of change, a lot of fast paced movement. And unfortunately, sometimes you run into people's capacity just based on the speed at which you're moving. So.
Oh, yeah. I got to interrupt the flow just a little bit. Can you hear that music in the background? A little groovy music. Anyhow. This little segment of this interview exists and is only available on the YouTube. That's right. We got a YouTube channel, Learnings and Missteps. Check it out. Or you can go to learningsandmissteps.com and find our YouTube channel there. And while you're there, you can also click on Become a Member to contribute some money, like funds. Straight up, I'm just going to say it. 80% of that is going to be donated to the Skilled Trades Alliance, because the Skilled Trades Alliance mission is very much in line with the Learnings and Missteps mission. And we're going to support great things and great people. And you signing up as a patron will contribute to that effort. So we appreciate you deeply for doing that. Also, I don't know if y'all heard or not, just in case you missed it, I'm an author now. Jennifer Lacey and I have co-authored a book. You got to check it out. Lean in Love, 5S Love Letters. It's on the Amazon. The whole goal of that book is to just help one person. And so far, we've gotten several people from the No BS tribe, from the L&M family, that have indicated to us that something, at least one little thing in the book, has helped them. And so we've kind of exceeded our goals. But to exceed the goal and continue helping people, that is the ultimate privilege in the world. So while you're out there on the Amazon, on the YouTube, on the LinkedIn, all the socials, leave us some reviews, leave us some comments, let us know you're out there. I know you're there. I see the statistics, the data, but I don't get to interact with y'all, and that makes me a little bit sad. Anyhow, I'm gonna stop my whining. Appreciate y'all very much. Go to the YouTube to catch this Learning and Misstep Backstage Pass. And here we go, back to the conversation. So super fresh experience. One thing you said that people need to hear and like anchor on is it's going to happen, right? It continues to happen. The missteps, the pain, the hard decisions that we got to make. And we got to learn from them. Now, you also, it sounded like it took an emotional toll on you having to make that hard decision.
Oh, it was terrible, man.
What did you do to recover from that?
I think what happened to me was I knew that the decision had to be made. The people around me were also like, this is the only way, right? There's nothing else we can do. And some of those people have been saying that for a while, and I was like, no, I can fix it. I know how to do this, right? I can make this work. And so the recovery happened quickly because I knew it was the right decision for the business and for myself.
Yeah.
So I think if it's the right decision, within by the end of that day, there was a couple things that happened where I was like, crap, I don't know if this was right. I'm scared, and then by the next day I was like, I was good. I was very confident in the decision I made, and and now I'm very, very like, that was by far the hardest but best decision possible. It still sucks. That's by far the worst for me. It's the worst part of the job. Like, I hate firing people. It's terrible. It's terrible. But for me, I got 125 employees, so I can't make decisions based on one person, man. I got to make decisions based on the betterment of our company and making sure our people have longevity and the right things in place to be successful, man. So at the end of the day, that's really what fueled me and pushed me to do it, is I got to do what's best for everybody, not just one person.
Yeah. Yeah. It is not easy. I used to think, man, when I get to be in charge, I'm just going to fire the wrong people, the people that ain't doing it, thinking it was an easy thing. And man, it has never been an easy thing. Even when I feel like I gave them all the resources possible, all the support I could give them, and like, just know they're going to go do amazing somewhere else. It still didn't feel good. Like, it sticks with you.
Yeah. I think, a big part of that too, man, is just, there's certain things you realize, man, that people that aren't a good fit really erode what you're trying to do. You know what I mean? And if they're not on board with your vision or what you're trying to do, they're doing things, even if they don't know they're doing it, that's just eroding what you're trying to build. I don't think some of them do it intentionally, but you see it. One of the other lessons of similar caliber was I had one of the best foremen. He was my best foreman that worked for me. The dude got so much work done. He was super high productive. By far, nobody could keep up with his productivity, but he was a terrible leader, man. People hated working for him. The turnover rate on his crew was higher than any other crew. No other crews wanted to work with him on the site, but I was terrified to get rid of him because I was like, he's making this company so much money. What do I do? Finally got to a point where I had to get rid of him because literally it was him and one guy, and it's supposed to be a 4-man crew. And quite honestly, like, he could do with two men what most of the other 4-man guys could do, and it was like, but it's not sustainable. How long are you going to be able to do that for?
Right.
You got to have the people. And man, I let him go. And literally the next day, the company was a completely different, like the morale, people, the way they felt. It not only didn't hurt us, but it made the other guys better because they're like, okay, I'm going to step up because they were tolerating this behavior for so long. Now I see they're not going to tolerate it. So like everybody became more productive. They all became team mentality. Like they all work with one another. Every one of my foremen now can go on to another foreman's job and work and, not get in fights, not yell at each other. Yeah. It's a big deal, man. And it's hard to quantify that it's unquantifiable. You know what I mean? So it literally just has to be a feeling of this person's not doing what we need them to do in the very high level stuff. While he's being super productive, he's also destroying what you're trying to accomplish. Those are tough times, but they're scary in the moment, and they almost always pay off big.
Yeah, big, because it signals. I mean, you just said it, but it signals to the rest of the team what will be tolerated and what won't be tolerated. Like, these are the rules of the game. I mean, I've been there. I used to be that guy, right? That nobody wanted to work with. People quit on me all the time, but man, I got stuff done. And I figured that out. But then I also worked on teams where there was some dirt bags, and the company tolerated it. I'm like, why y'all doing like? So I'm trying to do the right thing. Why am I going to try if what you really value is output? And like you said, it's not sustainable. And so, man, that's like gangsta OG level. Like, you got to make that hard decision. The most productive person. It's a short-term pain, but super long-term benefit. And you're already experiencing the benefit.
Yeah. I believe in that more than ever. And it's tough in this market, man. Like, I don't know. I'm sure Texas is similar, but in Raleigh, where we're at, I mean, this economy is just insane. Like, still, even with all the stuff going on, man, like we don't even feel it here right now. And the labor force is extremely short. The other scary part of it is, how do you replace these people? Because I mean, shoot, I think this week, man, we had 10 people apply to a job and 2 people showed up. Like, that's the deal. That's what we're dealing with, and even the ones that are showing up, they're not landscapers. We got to teach them, what we do. And it's not easy. Like, it's not easy. It's different. I try to tell the guys all the time, like, we have the people we have, and you try to pour into them, but you also can't be fearful of what I just said. Right. So part of our issue was we kind of became fearful and stuck in we can't replace these people. So we got to tolerate the ones that are doing a crap job or not a good fit culturally or, any of that, because we got to get the jobs done. We got to have people out there. What I found was 9 times out of 10, they're not doing the job anyway and making it harder for everybody else. So what's the point? You got to get rid of them, man. And
pull the trigger.
Yep.
Oh yeah. It's the whole labor shortage. That's a national thing. It's across the country. I can't say globally because I haven't been outside the United States, but everywhere I've been in the U.S., every trade, every business is struggling for workforce. The ones that I think that are going to get ahead are doing exactly what you're doing, right? Investing in their people, holding true to their values, showing appreciation and developing their own workforce internally. Those people, they're getting traction because they're taking ownership of the situation.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of organizations are blaming the school and blaming the trade school and blaming the generation. Like, you can do that, but ain't nothing going to happen if you're blaming everybody else.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where we've kind of come to. A lot of landscapers in our industry, they rely heavily on H-2B workers, right? That's a huge investment, and I don't know if this is across the country as far as like here it's a lottery system. So like you have to be in the lottery to get the guys. So and still you have to pay for them. So, like around here, we have all the largest landscapers in the country are in this market. And a lot of them are relying on 50, 60, 70, 100 H-2B workers to come in. Well, this year, the lottery was, I believe, cut down, and some of them got none of them, got no H-2B workers. And so in the meantime, they had to invest, like they had to keep the money that it was going to take to keep to get those people. So not only were they not training and investing in local talent, they also didn't get their workers. So they're so far behind the 8 ball because they didn't get what they thought they were going to get. It screws. So like I've committed that I'm not going to go down that path. I'm going to invest that money into local talent to develop what we can, because why would you, I don't play the lottery because it's a stupid tax, right? Like, why would I do it with people? It's the same thing, man. Like the odds are not in your favor. And to be fair, when you do get it, like these guys are stuck. Like we kind of joke that it's like a drug because I don't have it. Now I got it. And you're on this high because those guys produce so much, and it's just it's a revolving cycle of not enough, too much. I gotta rely on them. So, I think that we're going down the path of developing local talent, and we're going to invest as much money into that as possible. So,
hell yeah. Well, I applaud you for that, my man. Well, that's a pretty good segue to the closing thought is, what footprint do you intend to leave on this world, sir?
I wrestle with this a lot. That this question is very similar to what I asked my guests is, what does legacy mean to you? I think legacy is a very abstract thing, first of all. I think most people, what I hear most is people saying that, it's what I leave behind, it's the memories, it's stuff like that. And I agree with a lot of that. I truly, I hope that my footprint is people, when they end up in my business or in contact with me, that I create more value than I take, right? So I try my hardest to always be thinking of, how do I pour into these people to help their lives? How do I help them become better? I tell it to all my employees too, that like, look, man, I'm going to push you to be the best you can be. And I hope you stay with us forever. But I also understand I'm never going to keep you back from bettering your life if you have an opportunity. And I hope that I have put enough into you that if you do leave, you'll always look back and be like, my life changed when I walked into his place. So yeah, I think that's huge for me. My dad passed away a year and a half ago. So a lot of what I do here is his legacy. I'm trying to build what he always believed he could do.
Yeah.
So, I don't care as much about myself. It's a last name thing. It's more, my dad's the same way. He dropped out of high school. He grew up on a farm. He left and said, I'll never carry a lunchbox to work. He wanted to be an entrepreneur, and he lived true to that to the day he died. So
that's powerful, man. Straight up, like that is the purpose, right? I think you probably folks know out there, the L&M family know that the whole purpose of this podcast is to enhance the image of careers in the trades. I think your story and your father's story doing a phenomenal job of that, because, the traditional must get the degree, must get the diploma thing. I mean, you're proving that wrong. Like that is not a necessity. Maybe for some careers it is, but it ain't for everybody or for everything. You can still grow and contribute tremendously to your community and develop careers for others. Like you're officially providing people with careers without all the fancy papers on the wall.
Yeah, we like to say that we're second chance university here, like
10.
And it's because of who I am, man. I'm the underdog, right? Like I embrace that.
Yep.
That's who I am. I can't tell you the amount of people that have counted me out for dropping out of high school or my dad losing his business. There's been so many people that have been like, oh, you're just going to go down this path and lose, you're going to end up like your dad. Right. And it's like, I embrace that I love the chip on the shoulder, man. Like,
yeah.
It drives me. I'm definitely the owner that, shoot, I was out on a job site yesterday on my hands and knees picking weeds out of a job site for 2 hours. Like, I'm not above working and doing whatever I have to. So, and I think it's because of that underdog nature that I'm like, I'm never going to be the guy that's in the office and you do what I say you're going to do. Like, I'll show you exactly what I'm willing to do because I'm not going to lose, and I'm going to create a place where you guys are going to have a career and be successful because I will stop at nothing to make sure it happens. And I'm going to get people around me that feel the same way and are willing to do the same stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as far as like, the degrees and all that, man, I think our culture has learned very quickly, especially with, what the administration just did, man. Like, if you don't realize at this point that has become so, like, the return on investment of these degrees is so far off base that it just doesn't even make sense. It may be for the very high, doctors and lawyers and, very high, I guess, intellectual things that you need to learn through that. And even them, man, you talk to a lot of lawyers and doctors, man, they're like, you can't even tell, they're like that 4 years, 7 years, whatever they did, they're like, it was a book, man. Like that book can't teach you what you learn once you're out doing it.
Once you're doing it. Yeah.
And I think the proof is in the pudding, man. And people are really starting to understand it.
So who do you want to shout out, man? I know you got an amazing team out there and you get around quite a bit. So any particular shout outs you want to give?
My whole team, man. There's nobody that I can't shout out. You know what I mean? Like I got amazing people around me. Yeah. And none of this happens without them. My mentor and coach, Dan Abate, that dude changed my life almost immediately. He's made me a much better, like when I talk about being a visionary and like idea guy, he's pushed me to the extreme of, you hear people say, make your idea or dream so big that it scares other people. I tell some of my stuff to people and they're just like, this guy's out of his damn mind. Like, I don't know what he's talking about, but and it's pretty cool because the team around me has now, even like when it is a big, crazy, audacious goal or idea, they're like, they look at me kind of sideways and then they see what we've done and they're like, well, I'm not even going to second guess it. We're going to go after it, So, there's so many things that, it's powerful stuff, man. When you don't allow the world to kind of suppress who you believe you are. Cause I think that's a big part of it, man. People that believe that they have the short end of the stick or, they're a victim of their circumstances, man. Like that's what's holding you back, nothing else. Yep. And I promise you, once you go out and try and say, I'm not going to give up till I get to that point, you'll learn very fast that you're your own worst enemy. There's nobody else out there trying to stop you, maybe competitors, but those competitors tend to make you better. So,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Boom. All right. So where can people find you? I know I found you on TikTok. Any other social platforms you use?
Yeah. LinkedIn, Michael Bauman, Bauman. Lions Legacy podcast is the TikTok, or is it just Lions Legacy?
It's at Lions Legacy.
At Lions Legacy is the TikTok. Huh?
YouTube.
YouTube, Lions Legacy podcast. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of all over the place. We're not super big on any of the social media stuff. Just something, again, we're just moving down the path to see if it's worth what I believe it could be worth.
Right.
Which is not to be famous on TikTok, but to build a brand that people, understand and see, and hopefully gain value out of it more than I take. I mean, that's my whole heart behind it, man, is I hope to help people push past that comfort zone or that victim mentality and just go after.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, y'all gave me some good pointers on TikTok, and I started the next day, I put them into practice, and I'm seeing the results. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, some of the stuff's a little goofy, but hey.
It is. Hey, shout out to Gary V, man. He's the one that really did all this.
Oh, man, didn't I tell you? This conversation made me a little sad that y'all remember Renee, the co-host? Like, he's big time now. He ain't got time for learnings and missteps. I'm definitely going to be recommending this episode to him because listening to Michael's thinking about stuff, I think, is the most powerful thing. And I know it would benefit Renee and it would benefit any youngster out there. So share this episode with your younglings because, man, he's got some seeds that are going to help some people grow. And now we're going to give a shout out to the L&M family member that's been giving us props. And this one is to MC, who left a book review on the Amazon. MC says, I am not in the construction industry, and I had never heard about the 5 S's of lean. As a leader in the professional field, I thought I knew it all. I will definitely take this book as guidance for self-improvement. Drawing and reflecting are not my thing, but it has taken me to a vulnerable place that I'm thoroughly enjoying. Damn, that's like for real, for real. Big thanks to the authors and everyone who contributed to the amazing quotes. I hope an audiobook is in the near future. Man, an audiobook is in the near future. And by near, we mean like next year. We have some ideas and we just got to get it into the workflow because people are busy. MC, thank you so much for the feedback. I mean, I'm going to say this forever. The goal is to help one person. That is the purpose of the book. And your feedback indicates to me that's happening. And so thank you for taking the time to read it. And double thank you for leaving a review. We appreciate you very much. And everybody else, keep being awesome, be cool, and we'll talk at you next time. Peace. Oh my goodness. You're either driving down the road or just so enthralled with this whole podcast that you went all the way down to the very, 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 very end of it. And we appreciate you. And we're going to take this as an indication of your dedication. So we got a little special request of you, a call to action, because everybody tells us that you need to have a call to action. So here's the call to action. Be kind to yourself. Go out there and share a smile with someone. Peace.